Hi guys, welcome back. So in today's video, I'll be covering the meta builds for softcore, and this is for the end of week 2. And okay, so for the contents, firstly I'll be going through some brief description for beginners and newcomers, basically explaining what are meta builds. And then second, I will do a breakdown of the top 10 meta builds for the Ultimatum League. This is in terms of map clear, bosses, and sustainability. And the last one, I will give my opinions and thoughts of the current state of the meta. Okay, so what are meta builds? Basically, meta builds are the most popular builds that are currently trending. They are very popular, or they are widely used among most of the players, and they are actually popular for a reason because basically most of them are strong in a particular way, be it in terms of map clear or bossing or extremely tanky, and in a way that it makes progression extremely easy. And secondly, they might be cheap in terms of budget, yet they can still perform very well and it's very fun to play. You don't really need a very high amount of currency to play the build. Or they might be very expensive and they only scale very well once you have the budget. However, once you have the budget, it will perform exceedingly well above the others. So yeah, these are actually the builds that shape and changes the POE nerfs and patches every league, and this is actually due to the overpower mechanics that are probably the numbers in their damage or how they work. Okay, so let's not waste any more time. On the 10 of the list, we have Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning for map clear is actually a B tier. It clears decently well as the boss spread out, so you can see here. Usually it will project out two more from the sides. However, it cannot deal with monsters clustering around you. So if you have packs of mobs on the side of you or behind you, you will have lots of problem. Firstly, because it only travels forward, so you have to turn yourself around or probably dodge in front, turn yourself and shoot another line of ball lightning. And yes, it only travels forward in a straight line, so I would say this is actually one bad map clearing build out there. Okay, so for bossing, this is S tier. It's definitely top tier because of the number of damage takes. As you can see here, there's only 3 balls, but once the build is actually done decently well, in between these 2 damage balls, there are actually like probably 4 to 5 more, or even lesser around there. Yeah, but you can just probably imagine if there are more balls, the number of ticks that it deals to the bosses is actually very high. And this build technique generally has a very high huge amount of effective life. Okay, so for sustainability, this is a SS tier. It is very tanky because of the mind over matter. This build utilizes a huge amount of mana pool, which in turns give you a high amount of effective life. So yeah, very tanky build over here. Okay, next up on number 9 we have Carrion Golem. Like, hey, we are here, not so bad, eh? Okay, so for map clear, this is A. It clears very well because the minion just auto targets anything that is near you, and the Golem Cascade skills does AoE in front. So if there are packs of mobs in front, it just deals damage to everything along its way. So yeah, it's a very easy gameplay build where you just move around and wait for your minions to kill, sit back and relax, you know. So for bossing, it's a SS tier. This is just a horde of minions spamming on the boss, scratching and pulverizing whatever, while you just sit at one side, relax and just look at the boss life goes down. And yeah, it has a very high single target DPS with all the impale stacks on the Carrion Golem. So this build actually makes a very awesome DPS boss killing machine. So for sustainability, this is a S tier. I only label it as a S tier because it varies from multiple different builds, but generally all minion builds are very tanky because you just need to focus on one, your minion damage, and two, how to survive on your own as in the character itself. So S tier is very tanky with the multiple layer of defense, and the minions will generally do the tanking for you. You should not be tanking the damage. It's just most of the time the projectiles will be hitting you. Okay, next up we have the Frostbolt Vortex Occultist. This is also actually quite popular last week, but I think in this league is actually slightly more popular, seen more people playing it now. In terms of map clear, this is A. It clears decently well because the Frostbolt just spreads and then the Vortex just clears those small packs of minions around it. It doesn't have a very big AoE, but it's still able to clear small clusters of monsters around you because of the just the nature of the Vortex. So yeah, in terms of bossing, this is a S tier, not the best single DPS out there, but still acceptable. I've seen many people just playing the pure Vortex build, and they're just casting Vortex near the boss and then running away, letting cold damage over time do the job. And then if the boss is not dead, just rinse and repeat, just go near the boss, cast a few times, jump out and just wait. So in terms of sustainability, this is a A tier. Generally it has a high amount of energy shield, and it has lots of cold and chill effects to slow down the monsters or bosses, so most of the time they will not be able to approach you very near, and this allows the player to dodge a lot of stuff or even those boss mechanics much easier. Okay, 7 on the list, we have the Stormbrand. The map clear will be a S tier. It actually clears very fast with all the lightning chains. It just chains to one another. And it's a very easy run and click character that kills monsters in packs very fast and easy. In terms of bossing, this is a SS tier. It is no doubt definitely one of the best single target DPS because you just need to cast Stormbrand and then move around to dodge the boss mechanics, rinse and repeat. Like you don't even need to go near the boss or whatsoever. You can just cast it at a acceptable range and just move around until the boss dies. So in terms of sustainability, this is a B tier. I actually will put it even more towards C and D tier depending on how effective or how the build is going to sustain. But generally brand builds are very squishy because they are built to kill, so they have little to no defensive layers. And yeah, the theory of this brand build is basically like just kill them before they kill you. So it is very similar to those deep delving builds where they have one life and one energy shield, and you just gotta kill them before they even touches or approach you. That's the theory of it. Okay, so 6 on the list, we have the Toxic Rain. Toxic Rain is actually a popular build over the previous league as well. But for this league, I'm actually surprising to see it has more Raider builds for Toxic Rain. I'm not really sure why, but yeah. Okay, so in terms of map clear, this is a S tier. It clears very fast with the damage over time, and it has a better AoE for this league after the nerfs, and with all the pods overlapping, you can clear the mobs in no time. So it's a very easy, straightforward move and right click character. Not really much knowledge that you need over here, so not a difficult character to use either. So for bossing, this is a SS tier. It basically stacks the chaos damage easily in an area, and you can just stack it up before the boss spawn, and you can just see the life go down very fast. And the additional benefit of this build is it bypasses the boss's energy shield, so you don't need to worry about running out of the boss to heal yourself or whatsoever, and then you just worry about the bosses recovering their own energy shield. No, you don't need to worry for this build. Okay, so in terms of sustainability, there are actually multiple builds, so I will actually label this as S because most of the builds will use Enduring Cry and they have other multiple defensive layers, but generally actually is quite tanky with the correct equipment and the endurance charges, and is able to take a good amount of damage with the high life regeneration from the enduring cry. Okay, next up we have the race Spectre for the Krabby's build. I'm seeing more Krabby's build, but the other alternative is the Syndicate Operatives, which is not really very common. I think Krabby's is much more popular because they are just very tanky in nature and they just tank in front for you instead of the operative syndicates where they shoot behind. So yeah, in terms of map clear, actually the whole stats of this is very similar to Carrion Golems. It's A tier for map clear. It clears well because the minions auto target for you with the decent AoE from the Krabbies, and it's actually a very easy gameplay. Same with the Carrion Golem. You just need to move around and wait for your minions to kill. So for bossing, it is a SS tier. It has a very high single target as your crabs just run to the boss and just beat the hell out of it. Yeah, with all the lots of damage over time as well, because the crabbies will spawn the water fountains. It's actually quite painful as well. So yeah, in terms of sustainability, this build is actually a S tier. Again, there are actually multiple builds for this, but generally I would say it's S tier because it is very tanky with many multiple defensive layers and high life or high energy shield, and the minions do the tanking for you, so you should not even be taking the damage physically or whatsoever. So yeah, generally it's a S tier in sustainability. Okay, on fourth of the list we have the Ice Nova. This is the cast on crit. It is popular and it is popular once again in 3.14. So in terms of map clear, this is a SS tier. It can even be higher than SS clear. So yeah, this build has actually awesome insane clearing speed with the AoE and the mobility. It's just lots of critical multiplier and lots of spamming of skills from the Cyclone crit. It makes it a very smooth clearer even for very tanky rare monsters or whatsoever. Yeah, and for bossing I would say this is a A tier or maybe even slightly lower, because this build is meant for mapping. It is meant to clear maps extremely fast. So it doesn't have the best single DPS target because it casts on crit and it triggers and is flat like cold damage. So there's not really a lot of damage dishing out from the crit. So yeah, that's one thing. And secondly, you need to get close to the boss to deal damage. So this is one of the bad things of this build, and yeah, you gotta be careful with it. So that's why it's a A tier. For sustainability, I would say this is a A. It doesn't have the best defensive layer, but it has a decent amount of life with high dodge chance. So probably this build should be a kill before they touch you kind of build. It should not be a build that you can soak up a lot of damage, but just decently enough to take a few damage, recover, and go at it again. Okay, next up on third we have the Burning Arrow, and this is actually a very interesting meta build this league. It was not very seen commonly previously in the 3.13, but yeah, it just suddenly pop out of nowhere and like tada, it's a meta build already. So yeah, in terms of map clear, this is a SS tier. I will say this is even a SSSS tier or probably even way higher. This build has just insanely fast clearing speed that even monsters out of your screen dies. There's lots of burning damage and ignite damage, and this build, due to the elementalist, is immune to elemental reflect. So there's nothing to worry about in your maps. You don't have to worry about elemental reflex or even those recovery or whatsoever. And if you were to ask me, I think this is the best build out there for map clearing. It is just so smooth and slick and nice that you wouldn't even have to worry about dying from packs of monsters that are approaching your way. So yeah, in terms of bossing, this is a S tier. It has a good single target DPS with the ignite and debuff from the burning arrow that stacks up to 5 times. I think per stack it has like 30% or something like that. So it stacks up to about 150%. So pretty nice over there. And for sustainability is A tier. Really varies among different builds, but I will say generally it's A. It doesn't have the best defensive layer, but a decent amount of life with a few defensive layers. Enough for you to take some damage and run away to recover yourself. Okay, next up on the second, the runner-up, we have the Bladeblast Bladefall. This build is back again from 3.13 to 3.14. It's just generally so good. It is very stable. It's very consistent throughout the whole entire build. Whether is it a league starter or a mid-game build or end-game build, it just scales very well and progressively. So yeah, the map clear is S. It has a very large amount of damage and a huge AoE, and it can even clear very tanky rare monsters due to the after effect of the Blade Blast, where you do the Bladefall combo and then Blade Blast after that. So for bossing, this is SS tier. It is extremely insane high single target DPS against boss. All the blades that came from the Bladefall, you can just trigger the Blade Blast after that and it will deal simultaneously multiple amount of damage. So for sustainability, again it varies from different build, but I will say it doesn't have the best defensive layer, but a decent amount of life with a few defensive layers. Like the rest of them, it's just self-sustainable enough for you to soak up a little bit of damage and run away to recover. Okay, last but not least, the top one is the Cyclone. This build is here again from 3.13 and it will still forever be here even with the multiple nerfs from every single patch and leaks. It is still here. So for this build, there are actually multiple class. I shall just name the top 3 class that I've seen from the list. Being the champion, the chieftain for the more towards the fire cyclone, and the last one will be the slayer, which is more commonly for more casual players. So in terms of map clear, this is a S tier. No doubt it has very fast map clear with the large AoE and mobility. Again, this is depending on the class that you are looking at. And yeah, it's a very easy class. It's just a spin to win, right click and move, and just everything along its way just dies. So for bossing, this is a SS tier. It has a very high single DPS with all the impale stacks, generally from the Cyclone, because Cyclone has such a nice amount of ticks per second, and with all the fast attack speeds, the impale stacks just go up very high. With the high critical chance and multiplier, it just makes it super fast to down bosses before they can even react. I've seen like those mirror tiers or even 100x build just kill bosses like they didn't even show up. So like before even they can make their speech finish or even talk finish, they are probably dead. The next will be the sustainability. I put this under S tier because generally they are the strength build. So strength build has a good amount of life, very easy to build up life, and they have multiple defensive layers with high amount of life leech rate. So generally a S tier because of the just a good amount of life that is the nature of strength builds. Yeah. Okay, so on to my opinions and thoughts of this 3.14 Ultimatum League meta. The meta has most certainly shifted quite a bit between 3.13 and 3.14. Basically, actually, the top 5 builds are just around there. They are just shifting up and down by 1 tier or whatsoever. Not really much of a difference, but they do definitely have shifted. And secondly, is just Rip Blade Vortex. I don't even see them anywhere on the list. They just suddenly disappeared. I think it's because of all the nerfs and hits to Blade Vortex that the damage just scales very poorly now. There's just too much nerf to Blade Vortex that people don't even try to touch it or even attempt to even play the build. So I will say those people that play Blade Vortex, either you are just one, lazy to go and find more builds to play because you are just used to it from all the previous leagues, or two, you have just seen the previous league guides and just felt that it was awesome and want to go and try it. And okay, thirdly, the Burning Arrow has lots of potential this league. Yeah, it is surprisingly very popular this week. I think it's because of the map clearing speed. It's just too awesome and too smooth. And yeah, this is one of the reasons why my primordial jewels are so goddamn expensive, because this build utilizes all of them, including the anima stones. As the stacking of the golems gives them a lot of damage or even sustainability from stone golems or chaos golem. It's just very awesome. And lastly, like seriously guys, will Cyclone ever die? I've seen past records and past history of POE leagues, and it's almost as though Cyclone has always been in the top 5 or top 10 meta builds. It's just always there, no matter what build you play, whether is it some physical damage Cyclone or elemental damage Cyclone or cast on crit, it is always there. It's just so strong with all the different builds and mechanics and playstyle. Okay, so this comes to the end of the video. This is actually just the list that I've compiled online from the current records, and the opinions and thoughts from me are just from my personal preference and thinking. If you have other thoughts and opinions, just doesn't really matter, because many people varies as well, right? So yeah, at the same time, I didn't really have much time to experiment for this league due to many personal stuffs that are going on now, and with all the COVID happening around all of us. And that's why probably I have not been progressing well this league, because I don't really have much time to play. So yeah, then again, I will be very busy up till the end of next week, but I will still try my best to do some videos in relationship to the Ultimatum League. So if you like my videos and would like to watch more contents, do remember to hit the like and subscribe button. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.